It feels like an absolute bloodbath unfolding across 2 continents at the same time, and right in the middle of it all sits Meghan Markle, watching the empire she so carefully built start to crack, then crumble, then collapse in ways she clearly never imagined. This is not a slow decline. This is not a gentle fading into irrelevance. This is loud, it's humiliating, and it's happening in real time. The woman who once had Hollywood applauding her every move, who landed jaw-dropping Netflix and Spotify deals, who was welcomed into elite American circles as if she were some kind of modern-day revolutionary, is now finding herself isolated, exposed, and facing consequences she never planned for. And here's the part that changes everything. The very country she fled with so much drama, the UK, is reportedly preparing what insiders are calling a brutal intervention. And the timing couldn't be more devastating. Because America isn't rushing to her defense anymore. The love affair is over. The excuses are gone. Even her loudest cheerleaders are suddenly quiet, unsure, hesitant, backing away slowly like they don't want to be caught standing too close when the final collapse happens. For years, Meghan played a calculated game. She believed she had 2 separate audiences. Britain, which she dismissed as hostile, outdated, and cruel. And America, which she assumed would embrace her as a feminist icon, a civil rights heroine, a brave woman who escaped a toxic institution. For a while, that strategy worked beautifully. The Oprah interview was treated like gospel. The Netflix documentary went largely unchallenged. American media swallowed her version of events whole, treating her claims with reverence instead of scrutiny. But something has shifted, and the cracks are now impossible to ignore. People close to the situation say the goodwill evaporated at a shocking speed. One insider reportedly said she burned through it so fast there's nothing left to fall back on. Another was even more blunt, saying Americans are finally seeing what the British public clocked years ago. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Look around. The podcast? Canceled after 1 season despite a reported $25 million deal. Netflix projects underperforming compared to their massive budgets. The children's book? A flop. The lifestyle brand? Already facing skepticism before it's even launched. This is someone who had royal connections, celebrity backing, media training, unlimited resources, and still managed to fumble almost all of it. And the polling data coming out of the US should terrify her. Favorability ratings have dropped to levels usually reserved for the most disliked public figures. Young women are drifting away. Progressive audiences are done. Even industry professionals are quietly distancing themselves. These were supposed to be her people, her foundation, and they're leaving. But that's only half the story, because while her American support collapses, something far more dangerous is reportedly brewing in the UK. And this isn't gossip column chatter. This is being described as a coordinated, deliberate effort to finally set the record straight. After years of absorbing accusations of racism, cruelty, jealousy, neglect, the gloves may finally be coming off. For the longest time, the royal family stuck to silence. Never complained, never explained. They watched as Meghan gave interview after interview, produced documentary after documentary, all presenting her narrative as uncontested truth. And they said almost nothing. That era appears to be over. Legal teams are reportedly compiling timelines that directly contradict her claims. Communications experts are preparing statements designed to dismantle her version of events without sounding petty. And most explosively, there are whispers that former staff members could be released from their NDAs in specific cases. Let that sink in. Dozens of people worked with her daily. People who witnessed her behavior firsthand. People who stayed silent for years because they were legally forced to. If even a handful of those voices come forward, the impact could be overwhelming. What makes this intervention especially ruthless is the patience behind it. The palace didn't strike after Oprah. They didn't lash out after Netflix. They waited, they watched, they documented. They allowed the contradictions to pile up until her credibility began collapsing on its own. Now, any correction looks less like revenge and more like clarification. And if her victim narrative is dismantled piece by piece, what does she have left? Meanwhile, Hollywood has already made its move. Quietly, efficiently, brutally. The industry doesn't do public breakups, it does the slow fade. Calls stop getting returned. Meetings get postponed. Projects stall and die without explanation. One executive allegedly said no one wants to be the last person standing next to her when it all implodes. She's become radioactive. The agencies that once chased her are cautious now. Advisors are reportedly urging her to step back, stop talking, stop pushing content, and she's ignoring them because she can't stop. She believes more exposure exposure will fix what exposure destroyed. Even her celebrity friendships have cooled. Where are the Clooneys? Where's Serena? The silence is deafening. These people understand reputation management at the highest level, and they've clearly done the math. Charities are distancing themselves too. Foundations are declining partnerships. Executives are questioning her commitment. One nonprofit leader reportedly said she seems more interested in the photo op than the work. That's devastating for someone who built her brand on humanitarian language. And then there's the money. The numbers don't add up anymore. Those massive deals were never guaranteed cash. They were performance-based. Spotify ended in embarrassment. Netflix is tightening scrutiny. Meanwhile, the lifestyle is wildly expensive. The Montecito mansion, security costs, staff, travel, wardrobe. The burn rate assumes constant massive income, and that income is drying up, and financial stress is reportedly spilling into the marriage. Sources describe Harry as isolated, uncertain, weighed down by what he gave up, privately conflicted, publicly defiant. Meanwhile, Meghan is doubling down, convinced visibility will save her. Staff keep leaving. Morale is reportedly awful. One former associate described the environment as walking on eggshells that never stop multiplying. And now the past is catching up. Former classmates, colleagues, and staff are speaking. The humble beginnings narrative is unraveling. The self-made story doesn't match documented reality. The family estrangements follow a pattern. The bullying allegations won't disappear. And legally, some of her statements may finally be challenged. British defamation law doesn't play the same games as American media, and the Oprah interview alone carries serious exposure. The lifestyle brand was supposed to save everything, her reinvention, her comeback. Instead, insiders say it's built on a fantasy audience that no longer exists. Premium prices, no proven expertise, declining trust, horrible timing. And now, as her American dream collapses, the UK is preparing to confirm what people already suspect with receipts. This isn't coming, it's here. And she still seems to believe one more interview will fix it. And here's where the situation turns from messy to genuinely dangerous for her. Because what's happening now isn't just public opinion shifting or Hollywood losing interest. This is exposure accelerating in ways she can no longer control. For years, she was able to shape the story, frame herself as the wounded heroine, and dismiss criticism as jealousy, racism, or cruelty. That shield is cracking, and once it cracks, everything behind it becomes visible. The most terrifying part for her isn't the tabloids, it's the people who were once silent. Former staff, former colleagues, former insiders, people who were there, who saw things, who heard things, who documented things. These aren't anonymous trolls online. These are professionals with receipts, timelines, emails, and memories that line up far too neatly to be dismissed as coincidence. And according to multiple sources, many of them have been waiting years for this moment. What makes it worse is that the narrative she relied on is collapsing from the inside out. She built her entire post-royal identity on being silenced, misunderstood, erased. But now, the very people she claimed wronged her are preparing to respond calmly, methodically, with facts instead of emotion. That's deadly in the court of public opinion. Because anger can be spun, documentation cannot. And the British strategy here is almost surgical in its cruelty. They waited until America turned first. They waited until her numbers fell. They waited until Hollywood distanced itself. So now, when information starts coming out, it doesn't look like retaliation. It looks like confirmation. It looks like this is what we were protecting you from knowing, and now you're ready to hear it. Meanwhile, her American image continues to unravel in subtle but humiliating ways. Invitations stop coming. Red carpets no longer open automatically. Media outlets that once rushed to defend her now hedge their language. They start saying allegedly. They start asking follow-up questions. They start fact-checking. That shift alone is devastating to someone who thrived on unquestioned sympathy. And inside that Montecito mansion, the pressure is reportedly suffocating. Financial stress has a way of exposing fault lines that charisma once hid. Deals that were supposed to last years are gone. New offers don't match old expectations. And the lifestyle they're maintaining requires constant success, not occasional wins. Harry, by many accounts, is the one absorbing the emotional fallout. People close to him say he seems drained, disconnected, haunted by what he left behind. The family he publicly condemned is still his family. The brother he attacked is still his brother. And the silence from them now is louder than any argument ever was. There's no public war anymore, just absence. And that absence is brutal because reconciliation requires goodwill. And goodwill has been burned on all sides. His father is reportedly done trying. His brother father is said to have closed the door emotionally. The cousins, the old friends, the military connections, all gone. What remains is a life built entirely around one person's vision, one person's strategy, one person's refusal to admit miscalculation. And that's where the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. Sources describe Meghan as still convinced she's right, that the world simply hasn't caught up yet. That one successful launch, one viral interview, one perfectly framed moment will reverse everything. That belief, according to people around her, borders on obsession, because the evidence keeps pointing in the opposite direction. Overexposure didn't save her. It exhausted people. Even her staff departures now read differently. These weren't random exits. These were people who uprooted their lives, crossed oceans, and still chose to leave. People don't do that lightly. And when former employees start quietly warning others away, that reputation spreads faster than any PR campaign can stop. Then there's the uncomfortable truth about her past that's becoming harder to bury. The polished story of struggle, resilience, and self-creation is fraying under scrutiny. The private school education, the industry connections through her father, the calculated distancing from family members once fame arrived. The pattern is becoming visible, and patterns are difficult to explain away. Former colleagues from her acting days are no longer shocked by what's happening. Many reportedly say they saw this trajectory coming, that the charm always had an edge, that relationships were transactional. That warmth faded the moment usefulness did. When multiple voices tell the same story independently, people listen, and legally, the ground beneath her feet is shifting. Statements she once made freely are now being revisited. Specific claims, named individuals, implied intent. In the UK, those things matter, and the longer she stays silent while others prepare their response, the weaker her position becomes. Silence can protect you when you're powerful. It can destroy you when momentum is against you. The lifestyle brand, once framed as her rebirth, now looks more like a final gamble. It depends entirely on trust, admiration, and aspiration, three things her brand is rapidly losing. High prices with no proven expertise. Luxury positioning without luxury credibility. A market that's tightening, not expanding. And an audience that's already moved on. Industry analysts are blunt. You can't sell authenticity when people don't trust you. You can't sell aspiration when your life looks chaotic. And you can't build an empire when the foundation is cracking under scrutiny. And yet, she presses on. That's what makes this so painful to watch, according to insiders. Not the fall itself, but the refusal to stop digging. The belief that the rules don't apply. The insistence that everyone else is wrong. Because when the British intervention fully lands, when testimonies align, when documentation surfaces, there may be nothing left to spin. This isn't cancellation. It's exposure. And exposure is permanent. Exposure is permanent. Exposure is permanent. Exposure